Hi there. Thanks for tuning in to Marshashana Yoga. We shoot our show here in Massachusetts on our local cable station, but you can also access older shows online at Marshashana Yoga. If you are interested in classes or private sessions, you can contact me via the email shown on the screen. So, I think most of us get it by now. Yoga is good for you. It involves so much, and yet it is so simple to begin. It is good in so many ways that there is no longer any doubt that everyone can benefit from yoga, along with its sidekick, meditation. So hear ye, hear ye. If you haven't started some form of yoga, do it. It feels good. I do have a guest today. I'm very excited. She is a new friend that I just met here at the Milford TV studio last month. She manned a camera for my last show and praised me with compliments afterwards, which of course feels good. Okay, I know I'm supposed to lose the ego. I'm working on it, friends. But first, I want to talk a little about a body part that is related to our discussion today, the brain. What does yoga do for the typical brain? Well, using the techniques of pranayama, such as alternate nostril breath and ujjayi breath, we can accomplish the following stuff for the brain. Balance the left and right hemispheres, bring more oxygen into the body, increase heart rate, which brings more blood flow, make more connections among neurons. Here's a quote I came across on a site called Do You Yoga. By the age of 3, the brain has created 1,000 trillion connections. However, there is a use or lose principle to neurons. The neuron connections less used are pruned off and fade away, so new connections can be made and strengthened. The average adult has about half the connections of a 3-year-old. It's worth noting that new neurons are made throughout the lifetime and increase at a more rapid rate in response to new mental activities. Yoga can help change the way the brain thinks over time, creating and strengthening new neurons and neural pathways. And yoga helps with anxiety and depression by changing the chemicals in the body. This is done via the nervous system and the endocrine system. Research strongly supports the fact that yoga is good for those suffering with these conditions. And the meditation piece can make things like judgment, depression, and one's own limitations disappear. Anyone who has done yoga or meditated or chanted can attest to the calming effect on the brain. I am always so bliss-filled to see my students very relaxed at the end of the class. My 93-year-old father-in-law is the perfect example. He comes for yoga once a week, and although he's a calm person anyway, he always comments on how good and peaceful it makes him feel. This, in turn, makes me feel additionally calm and peaceful. No wonder I love yoga so much. We don't call the mind the monkey mind in yoga for nothing. The brain has many thoughts during the course of a day. Unfortunately, most of those are negative ones. Ugh. So, in yogic fashion, we attempt to still the mind somewhat by just slowing down a bit and trying to be more positive in our thoughts. We can create these better neural connections. Of course, it seems logical that this process would take a little time, kind of a retraining. And we all well know the effect of stress on the body and mind. We've all felt this at one time or another. And yoga does help to regulate the nervous system and the hypothalamus, reducing the stress response. Through nurturing a mind-body connection, we cultivate an awareness of what our mind and body are doing so that we can pay attention to that. Think mindfulness. This increases our intuition and lets us pay attention to the brain that exists within the gut. You know that gut feeling thing. We've all experienced it. The gut doesn't rationalize. What about when the brain has been hurt badly? My guest today will be talking about this on a very personal level. For those who have experienced brain injury, there are many benefits from yoga. The Justice Resource Institute of Brookline, Massachusetts found yoga helps to regulate areas in the brain that had been damaged by traumatic injury. This includes the limbic system, that portion of the brain that deals with emotions, stimulation, and memory. Yoga also helps with the fear response relative to the cortex, and also higher order function and planning associated with the prefrontal cortex. Traumatic brain injury also includes such things as anxiety and overexcitement. This is an obstacle to healing, as the body and mind are trying to work together as they did in the past. It may be a slower process, too, to make that happen. Through mindfulness, the mind-body connection is fortified and the brain learns how to relax. Then the body can focus on the healing part of building back flexibility and strength. And it really is this mind-body-spirit connection, not just a bunch of poses, that helps with brain injury. I quote Christine Miller, an assistant professor with the School of Health and Rehabilitation. One of the things about yoga that is different from traditional rehabilitation exercises is that it is more whole body focused. It helps people learn to take their nervous systems to a more calm and relaxed state, which helps with healing, unquote. In an article in Meditation and Brain Plasticity, it is noticed that the past few decades have brought with it much new evidence to support the connection between meditation and brain plasticity. Studies have shown increased blood flow to the brain, as well as a remapping of some of the brain functions. The research has shown changes in neural pathways and synapses. And that meditation is not only calming to the brain, but that it contributes to physical brain health. With regard to statistics, one 8-week program at Indiana University determined that yoga had an impact on traumatic brain injury. It was shown that balance was increased in participants by 36%. Strength in the lower extremities was increased by 100%, and their endurance increased by 105%. So good. The beauty of yoga, again, is in the way that it can be adapted for anyone. In this study, some participants are in wheelchairs or unable to stand. I love the quote from one of the participants as to how this yoga program, quote, rocked my world. It's changed my life. I mean, all the different aspects. I mean, physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's given me my life back, unquote. Now, let me introduce my guest, Ryan Farrell. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Marcia.
How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Mother Nature is, the sun is shining and Mother Nature is cooperating with us quite nicely. Beautiful day to do some yoga and meditation.
It is indeed. And Ryan has experienced a traumatic brain injury. And we're going to let her talk a little bit about how that, what happened and how. Just go ahead, talk, Ryan.
Surely, Temple. Well, it was a little over 8.5 years ago. I was just finishing up my freshman year of college, and I was performing with my collegiate cheerleading team as one of the bases. So, you know, one of the girls who is holding the foot of the flyer in the air and hoisting her above. Yes. And our flyer, she bailed out of the stunt and fell to the side. Her rear end hitting me in my chest, causing me to fall back down to my own rear end. as I was down on the ground crying in obvious pain, I was approached by my coach who told me to get back up and stop making such a scene. So I did as my coach told me to do and continued to perform, and a short time later I collapsed and did not regain consciousness. 911 was then called, and I had not only had a fractured vertebrae in my neck, and a collapsed lung, but I also sustained a severe traumatic brain injury.
Wow, Ryan. And I will say to my audience that this is actually the first time I'm hearing this story from Ryan, because we just met last month and she agreed to come on the show. So I'm hearing this story when you are. So my face is probably going to show that. Yeah, I've often watched the cheerleading teams because I have a granddaughter who cheers, and I often wonder about the safety of that kind of stuff. But anyway, so they called 911, and what happened from there, Ryan?
Well, so the paramedics arrived on scene, and right there on the mat, I had to be intubated, and I was rushed to the local hospital, which, thank God, and thank all the spirits and angels up in heaven, was right back up the street. And I was rushed into emergency surgery, and then a few days later had to be brought back in to have an emergency craniotomy performed because there was too much swelling on the left side of my brain. So my life-saving and life-giving neurosurgeon, Dr. Michael Cho, he's my lifesaver. He had to go back in and remove my bone flap out of my brain so that it was able to swell without becoming further bruised. And the incredible thing about this is he didn't just throw it in a freezer somewhere. He removed it from my head and placed it inside my abdomen so my body could essentially harvest it. Now, we would end up calling this my skull baby. You gotta laugh, right?
I do.
You gotta laugh in situations like these. So I spent a total of 1 month in the intensive care unit, 2 weeks of which I was in a medically induced coma. And then I was transferred to the old Spalding Rehab Hospital in Boston to begin my long inpatient rehabilitation. So physical, occupational, speech therapies. But upon my arrival there, the head physiatrist called to me with my parents, and after introducing himself by saying, "I have been studying the brain for many, many years, and I've looked over all your daughter's CAT scans and other reports, and she is so severely injured that at very best, she will only ever be able to walk with a walker."
Well, you certainly proved that wrong. How long did you spend in-house in rehab?
I spent 11 weeks at Spalding for the first portion of my inpatient rehab. And then I was moved up to New Hampshire to this absolutely incredible rehab facility, Crotchet Mountain Rehab Center. And oh my God, that place is the reason that I was able to regain my life.
Right.
And it was everything. It was goes very much into meditative, happy place. Crotchet Mountain, it was right in the foothills of Crotchet Mountain in New Hampshire. Beautiful. And especially at early August, throughout the all of August and pretty much all of September I was there. So it was just getting the peak of the foliage before everything fell to the ground, like what we're dealing with outside now.
Right.
So it was just, not only were all of my therapists and the nurses and all the professionals there incredible and expected a lot out of our patients, but the setting, if you will,
yes.
it was that whole mind, body, spirit and soul connection that needs to happen for healing.
Right, exactly. And that's where you first came upon that whole idea. Is
Yeah.
Let me back up just a little
Okay.
bit, Ryan. You said when you hit the floor, you hit the your butt, that the girl hit your chest. How exactly did the injury of the brain take place? Because I missed that.
Yeah, well, it was pretty much the equivalent of like shaken baby syndrome.
Okay.
So it was that initial impact. If I had been treated immediately then, I still would have had a concussion and probably would have had the collapsed lung and fracture in my neck.
Yes.
But it was that initial impact that shook the brain, and with a closed head injury, like a lot of people think that the most dangerous or the scariest of all TBIs are the ones with the car accidents or any other kind of accidents.
The high impact.
Yeah, high impact, where someone's brain is outside of their actual noggin.
Yes, right.
But the fact that my brain was just getting bounced back and forth, it was bruising, and it was building up all this pressure that couldn't be relieved.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, Ryan, talk about the yoga a little bit. Like how, I guess you learned it at Crotched Mountain, you began to learn these techniques, and this takes you a lot of places, am I right?
So, you are spot on, Dolly. It really, I started it up at Crotched Mountain, just pretty much on my own, a little bit as a part of occupational and physical therapy, all like mushed into one. And I continued that and just built upon my what little knowledge I had prior to my injury of yoga and meditation, and I found some really handy helper apps on my phone, and I just started doing yoga and meditation like what you were talking about in your intro. Just even if you just do the ums, like find your pressure points on your hands and just do the and the chanting and everything like that. And I really don't think I fully grasped how helpful yoga was and could be for me until I returned to college, and I was obviously enrolled in my classes and had my sorority meetings and different clubs and activities because I wanted to regain my life.
Yes.
But the yoga and especially the meditation, because I could just do that propped up on my bed in the room of my on-campus housing, and I would just be like, and what I really was very, very again blessed and fortunate that I was able to do this. I went on the first and only retreat that I've ever been on back in a little over 2 years ago in October of 2016. I went through, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Pathways Institute.
I have.
Excuse me. So I went on my first retreat because I had learned of it through a sorority sister whom I had met through our Boston alumni chapter. Okay. So it's again all those like connections and interchangeable everything like that, and like soul sisters that we meet along the way, who introduced me to that, and I can't wait to go back on another retreat. I'm just planning out when, not if, but when I will go, because those 4 days and 3 nights were so transformative and just beautiful for me.
Yes, no doubt. One of the things that I did mention when I was talking is about how it kind of removes some of the judgment and the limitations that you see for yourself. Would you say that was true for you too? I'm talking about self-judgment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, before my injury, I wasn't just rah-rah shish kumbah. I was, and I will always call myself a soccer player. All throughout my childhood, especially junior high and high school, my coach, not even her nickname for me, her name for me was Beast.
Okay.
And I was a member of the of Hopedale High School's Cinderella Story state championship team in 2005. As a freshman, I was a starting outside midfielder, and coach's nickname for me was Beast.
Well, you're an athlete, obviously.
Yeah,
you're obviously an athlete.
But that, again, the whole mind-body connection, which works into the heart, soul of everything we go and do, and yoga has just, it really has helped me with so much. And again, the meditation that I can just do, I don't have to set up any space.
No.
And it's just, anyone can do it. Anyone and everyone can do it.
Absolutely. And the chanting has so many benefits, so it's really a good thing to do. Let me see now, Ryan, what else do I want to ask you? Are there any poses in yoga that you don't do or that you can't do?
No, I like to try anything and everything. My favorite pose, which I think is a lot of people's favorite pose, obviously, is just the child's pose.
Yes.
Like the lazy dog, pero perezoso, lazy dog in Espanol.
Okay.
Pose. But I love just a warrior.
Yes.
And because I feel like one.
That's right.
I feel like one.
Were you in classes with other individuals doing this for yoga, with brain injury?
I don't think I was.
Okay.
But I absolutely adore the Love Your Brain Yoga Foundation, and I was lucky enough a couple years ago because the month of March is Brain Injury Awareness Month.
Okay.
And how fitting is that? It comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb.
Yes.
But so every March we have our conference, and at the conference we have different cool workshops. So this was a few years ago. I was volunteering, and we had the founders of the Love Your Brain Yoga Foundation came, and they conducted a workshop. So I made sure that I was signed up for pretty much the whole day there. I was just kind of like ahming and oming there and doing the different poses. And I have a very helpful app on my phone. It's the 10% Happier app.
Okay.
And the 10% Happier, it was first a book written by ABC News journalist Dan Harris.
Oh, yes.
And he went on his whole journey of meditative self-discovery after years of having anxiety and things he never addressed, and kind of just shoved it down like so many people do, so many folks do.
Yes.
But it wasn't until he suffered a live on the air panic attack.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes.
He went on this whole journey of meditative self-discovery and created the 10% Happier.
And I think that the yoga does help the anxiety so much, and of course it discusses that piece with the brain injury. Man, there's got to be a place where you're very anxious about what's happening to you, and how do you deal with this? Now, how long did it take you before you began to walk without your walker?
Oh, well, that was so I spent 11 weeks at Spalding, and the most I was able, the most I was able to do was take a few very guarded, like 2 physical therapists on either side of me, steps.
Yep.
And those are like call me a drunken sailor.
Yes.
Yeah. I watched what few videos we had, because back in 2010, it's not like how it is now. Everybody didn't have a smartphone.
That's right.
You know, so it was just a few videos, but pictures and videos truly speak 1,000 words.
Eating by holding on to that railing. No, I'm letting go. Okay. You ready?
11 weeks at Spalding, and then it was finally when I was transferred up to Crotchet Mountain Rehab Center up in beautiful mountains of New Hampshire, and I began all of my therapies up there the day after I arrived. And after a few days of physical therapy, I was out of my wheelchair and using a walker. I used the walker for maybe a couple more days, and then I just told my physical therapist, like, get that hunk of metal away from me. I never want to see one of those pieces ever again.
Right.
So she's like, okay, Ryan, whatever you say. I was like, good, do it now. You can't do it soon enough.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of people who can be helped by this who have brain injuries. Maybe they don't realize that. And it's also about this determination. I talked this morning in my class about tapas, which is one of the niyamas, that intensity and that determination that brings you to the mat time and time again. And it's a purification, a burning process, a purification process. It's not with a goal in mind per se, but just following that passion and sort of working to make your intentions reality, right? And I think you've done all of that in true fashion.
Thank you. Many thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on. And with that, we'll move to the mat, Ryan.
Snaps to that, sister friend.
All right. I wish I had another rhyme.
Amen, sister friend. I should have said.
Amen, sister friend.
And then you can say snaps to that, Bobcat.
Snap to that, Bobcat. Ryan is the queen of rhyme.
Rhymisms.
Let's go to the mat.
Let's go. Tally ho.
We begin here today just noticing the flow of blood. Noticing. Today I'm in this position of Supta Baddha Konasana using my bolstering blocks. Rai is possible. So either way is just fine as notice for a moment the quality of it. Times the breath more short and rapid, times long. There is this idea in yoga. We have a certain number of breaths, so we should choose a point somewhere on the body where you feel your inhalation. It could be your abdomen or your chest, your heart, your throat, your nose, nostrils. But just come to a point. Let's take a couple of breaths, just noticing and staying with that point. Just allow us, sir. Trust me. Know that we spend a huge amount of time going back over past events. We're looking into the future, stating what's But in yoga, try to stay in this. We do that. Inhalation. Let's deepen our breath. Breathing into the belly and filling that, and then up into the rib cage, and all the way to the top of the chest. Pausing at the top, and then releasing the chest, and then again, filling the belly, expanding the rib, lifting. Releasing the chest. Just coming back to that. You are on the bolster. Just begin by pointing the feet, stretching the tops of the feet, and then flexing the feet. Just kind of pushing down on the calves a little, and then pointing the feet, stretching all the top, and then flexing back. And then just widen your legs a little bit and make some slow circles. Round, waking up the ankles a bit. And then going the other way, and also right up into the hips, that area. And then come back with the toes up and just make a little fist with your toes, just kind of squeezing a gentle fist, and then spreading them wide. And now take the arms alongside your ears and just lengthen the body. So pushing the fingertips away behind you as you press the heels forward. Taking a few breaths. It opens up the chest, so just expanding that. And then exhaling the arms on your next exhalation. Just bringing them down in time with your exhalation. And then I'm just going to move off my bolster. You can stay right there, Rai. And you can take your pillow out and just set that aside. And now here on a flat back, we're going to extend one more time with the arms long and the legs long. So stretching behind you with the arms and just bringing the arms over behind your head. Just stretching along one more time. And then exhale down. Bring the feet up to the floor one at a time. And here we'll do a little pelvic tilt. So we press the flat of the back right into the ground there and then releasing. So again, we just do that, just warming the back up, releasing like a pelvic tilt. Once more, pressing that into the ground. Release. And now draw your right knee into your chest. And then extend that with the fingers interlaced behind the thigh and point and flex your foot. And then draw the thigh to the chest as you keep the sole up to the ceiling. And then extend it up again. And now cross that over the other leg so your hip and knee are in a line, and draw it one hand at each knee up to the chest. Just gently rock. Oh, that's right, all right. And then bring that other left leg up and interlace behind it if you're able. And then point and flex that other foot. And then bring that down and let the leg cross all the way over. Take your right hand to a T. Take your left hand and draw those knees to the left and let your head move to the right and take a breath. Nice twisting action, just releasing all the toxins, getting rid of some of the toxins in your body and just releasing old emotions. Come back up to center and uncross. Extend, bring your left leg in to your chest and then extend that up. And point and flex them. Just stretching the hamstring and the calf. And the foot. And then cross that over. And then just bring both hands to the knees and draw that right up and rock it gently. And for a moment, extend that other leg up and interlace behind it. And then point and flex it. That's a little bit harder on that side sometimes. and then bring that down and cross all the way over. Left hand comes to a T and right takes that legs over. And the head moves to the left. Good, taking a nice breath. And then coming back up and just undo the legs. And now just bring your hands behind them and bring the soles of the feet to the front, towards the wall in front of you, and point and flex a little. And then make some circles. And the other way. Now just let your hands come down beside you and let your legs be at 90 degrees and your soles are facing the wall in front of you. Just working the abdomen a little bit so you feel a little stretch maybe in the core. And then let the knees go to the right a little. Just keep your shoulders on the ground. Bring it back up. Let it go to the other side a little, keeping the knees hip distance. Good. And then come up to the center, bring the feet down to the floor. And now I'm going to ask you just to raise your feet, but only about a half an inch off the floor, maybe not even, as little as possible off the floor. And you'll notice that the abdomen engages, working that core a little. And then bringing them down. Let's bring the legs up one more time. Bring the soles right up to the ceiling. So bring your arms in the middle there and come into happy baby. And just, now go across and come around the outside. That's it. And then have your soles upwards, yeah, if you can, and just rock back and forth a little. This is a good name, aptly named happy baby. Yeah. And then bring the soles of the feet together. Just draw those in, so just letting that, the groin stretch a bit. And then come down. And just stretch one more time, right? And exhale down. All right, we're gonna come up to stand and do a few poses. So our session today, gonna be a little shorter because we had a longer interview, but we're gonna come up and do a few standing poses. So we'll use that blankie in a few minutes when we come back down, so we'll just put that aside. So we're gonna come to mat. Yeah, it's good to stagger, that's perfect. We're gonna do warrior two, so we'll step wide. Make sure your feet are even and parallel, that they're on the same plane. One is in front of the other. And then turn this foot out all the way and straighten the knee. Once you've got it nice, straighten the knee. Turn the toes in or the heel back and extend the arms, reach away from each other. And then bend the forward knee and look out over your arm. In warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. So we're strengthening the arches, ankles, knees, and thighs, and just stretching the hips and the chest. And this builds endurance in the muscles too. Bring the arm down to the front and extend over in Utthita Parsvakonasana, extended side angle. Don't put too much pressure on the leg or anything. You don't want to put pressure on the knee. Come back up, straighten the front leg, and then reach forward and come into Trikonasana. One arm over the other, lifting the chest up. Yes. And then coming up, bring the feet to center, hands to the hips, and just come to the middle a minute. And then round the shoulders. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now inhale your shoulders to your ears. Exhale, ha, ha. Inhale up. Exhale, ha. Inhale. Exhale, ha. Beautiful. Stepping inside. I like doing the ha's too. Step wide, feet are even and parallel. Turn the opposite foot out. When you get it where you want it, straighten the leg and turn those back toes in. Extend your arms. And then bend the forward knee. Look out over there. warrior. The pose is a name for the weapons we use as warriors are gentleness and fearless. Just staying right there for just a moment. It's also good for digestion. And then bring the arm down and extend over an extended side angle. Taking a breath. And then come back up, straighten the front leg, reach forward, and come into Trikonasana, triangle. And then coming up, hands to the hips and feet to the center. So let's just do a little bit of our little cross step. So we bring one foot over, and then back, and then over. And we might add the arms if we like. Just crossing over that midline, good for the brain. Beautiful. And then coming back to the center. So let's step to the top of our mat here, and we'll just try a little warrior one. So we make sure the feet are even and parallel, nice and standing in Tadasana. Bring the shoulders up and back and reach the fingertips down, tuck the abdomen back a bit. Buttocks drops towards the floor a little. Take a breath. Mountain pose. And then bring your hands to your hips for a moment. Step back with the right foot angled out slightly, about 30 degrees. And the torso moves to the front, to where you're facing. And then we bend the forward knee so it sits over the ankle. Beautiful. And we raise the arms in warrior one. Take a breath. So watch your back leg. As you strengthen the back leg, it just invites the rib cage to lift, and the arms and the chest automatically opens. Take a breath. Bring the hands to the hips. Step forward. Come back into your Tadasana. And then step back with the right foot angled out a bit. Move your torso this way. You can't really square the hips because your leg is back there, but we bring it that way. And then just bend that forward knee and draw your arms by your ears as close as possible for you. Keep them wide. If you've got shoulders issues, you can keep them down too. So everything can be modified in yoga to suit you. Take a breath. And then bring the hands to the hips and step forward. Whoa, and step forward. A little off balance there. I guess I was. Okay, we're going to come back down because our session is short today. We're going to do a little meditation and have our Shavasana. So for those of you at home too, let's get seated. You can sit on a chair, you can sit on a bolster, you can just sit down. So we're going to lie up, put our little blankie back down here. And we're going to have a seat. And have your pillow nearby so you can bring that under your head after. All right. That's okay. Take your time. No hurry. Let's come to this simple seated position, Sukhanasana. Bringing the hands up. Let's bring the ring finger and the thumb together, just pressing gently together, extending the other fingers in the Ravi Mudra. This hand gesture brings us energy and health and balance. Let's do 2 ohms, inhaling now to begin. The eyes closed, relax. And now draw your attention to the solar plexus, that area at the upper abdomen. And envision there a beautiful yellow light flooding that area. This is the area of our identity and our willpower and our self-confidence. And the seed sound is Ram. So we'll do one Ram, inhaling to begin. Now let's just bringing the pillow under your head, and if you have a bolster, that can go under your thighs. Coming to a restful place. And just drawing the attention back to the rise and the fall. We just relax the back body, letting the back body sink into the floor, knowing that we are fully supported by the universe. Bring attention to the top of your body facing the ceiling and let that soften. Soften the tops of the feet and the legs. Release the abdomen and all the internal organs. Relax them. Soften the chest and open the heart. Relax all your facial muscles, softening the corners of the eyes and the corners. Resting in. Gently wiggle the fingers. Roll to the side and just rest on your side for a moment with the feeling of surrender and acceptance and confidence. And then keeping your sense of peacefulness, bring yourself up to a simple seated. Bring your hands to heart center and bow the head. May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way home. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.